I was told that saturated fat is harmful after 25 grams. Is there any truth to this? Absolutely not. The Journal of the American College of Cardiology published a large paper, meta-analysis, systematic review, looking at all the top-level evidence, looking at saturated fat and its connection with cardiovascular disease. And they found, with the randomized controlled trials and the meta-analyses of randomized controlled trials, looking at all the highest levels of that evidence, that there was no association whatsoever between increased saturated fat intake and cardiovascular disease. None, right? And in fact, they found... All right, hello and good morning. Sorry, I was just running a bit late, but thank you everyone for being patient. So today we're live on March 8th, 2024 for me, and March 7th for most everyone else. Thanks everyone for joining. Today I have about 2 hours, so that should be a good amount of time. Try to answer as many questions as I can. Probably an hour in, we'll ask people to stop doing super chats and things like that, just to make sure that I can get to everything. So great. All right. So we'll start with the first question here from Sunshine Kiss. She says, hi, my favorite doctor. Thank you very much. 5'7", 135 pounds, lift weights every day. Carnivore 6 months, added fat, started gaining fat/weight. What are the right protein fat ratios then? Well, for most people, you want quite high fat. You want to try to get as much fat as your body is asking you for and can absorb. Your body makes a certain amount of bile, and that's how much fat that you can absorb. After that, it's very difficult for your body to absorb fat. It absorbs a very small amount, and the rest goes out. So you sort of have this spillover mechanism. Your body has a limited capacity to absorb fat, and so I don't believe there's such a thing as being able to eat too much fat, because it's not really physiologically possible to absorb more fat than your body wants. So I think you try to get that much fat, and you try to get a corresponding amount of protein that is right for your body. If you're eating very lean meats, then you're going to need to eat more. I see this all the time where people will eat twice as much pounds of food if they're eating very lean. Their body just needs these different nutrients that are in fat, and it's sort of chasing that. And the people that are just eating very, very lean, they're just eating all the time, and they're not as satiated as other people that are eating more fat as well. You also need to make sure that the weight that you're gaining is actually fat. Is it fat or is it muscle? Because you are going to gain muscle. It's going to be much easier to gain muscle on a carnivore diet than basically any other diet you care to do. And you'll be putting on lean body mass. And so you're lifting weights every day. You're going to be putting on muscle, which is great. So you can get a body composition score, either DEXA scan, or you can just get calipers and sort of test your body fat and see where you're at there. If you are putting on fat, it could potentially be that you are just eating far too much lean meat, and your body's just trying to eat more and eat more and eat more to try to get enough of the fat and nutrients that you need. Your body chases nutrients. It doesn't chase calories. And so you're going to increase the amount of food that you're eating if you're still deficient on some calories. So give that a try. Let's see here. I saw little El Marie in the chat, so I want to say hello, little El Marie. It's nice to see you here. Copper's Kitchen Carnivore from 808 Bear. My neighbor is now low platelets. Can carnivore boost that? She is low on iron too. Well, it can certainly help with the iron. It can help with other sorts of things. It depends on what's causing her low platelets. There can be a lot of reasons for that, and obviously she needs to work with her doctor for that. To that end, it can certainly help with iron. It can certainly help with all the other essential nutrients and vitamin B12 and other sorts of things that are necessary to make new blood cells. There's a certain kind of anemia that you can get from low iron. You get low red blood cells, but from low B12, B12 is required for DNA synthesis. And so when you're making new cell lines, you're having cell turnover, like your blood cells and your immune cells, because these things have a high turnover rate. You have to keep making these things constantly. And if you have low B12, then you're not going to be able to turn these things over properly. So that's another thing too. I'm not saying that's what's causing this. I'm just giving that as an example, that there can be other nutrients that that will be addressed by a carnivore diet that can help in these sorts of things. But it certainly matters what's causing low platelets. A lot of things can cause low platelets. Certain diseases can cause low platelets. Medications can cause low platelets, and nutritional deficiencies can also cause low platelets, and so then other exposures, things like that. So there's a lot of different things that can be. It's going to help her with the iron and a lot of other things anyway. Can't say it's what it's going to do with the platelets, because I don't know what's causing the low platelets. So she needs to see her doctor about that. But the diet is only going to help anyway. Muzamel Chowdhury, thank you for the question. Hi, Dr. Chaffee. 1.5 months carnivore, 2 meals a day, 16-8 ratio on eating. So I'm saying 16 hours fasting, 8 hours eating. Why am I putting so much fat on in my belly? Am I having too much protein? I follow you, as you said, eat up to taste, and it tastes good, and exercise 3 days a week. So yeah, well, it very well could be. Another thing some people do is they take ox bile, which you probably aren't. You haven't mentioned that, but some do, and they think that helps them, digest fat better. And in a way it does, but it also forces your body to absorb more fat than it actually wants. And of course, you're going to store that. So don't do that. Almost no one needs to do that, or shouldn't do that. There may be some rare exceptions here and there, but in general, no one should need to do that. As far as if you're not taking ox bile or anything like that, it could be that you're having more lean meat than your body wants, and so again, you're chasing the more nutrients from fat, and so you're just eating more than it needs to. Also, we're sort of assuming here that you're only eating meat and only drinking water. If you're having dairy, people put on weight with that. They eat more dairy than they necessarily need. It's just sort of a compulsion to eating dairy too. And people tend to eat the exact same amount of meat regardless of the amount of dairy they eat. So they'll eat a lot of dairy, and then they'll eat the exact same amount of meat because their body wants those nutrients from meat, and then it just has a whole bunch of dairy too. And so that can be too much for you. And then if you're having artificial sweeteners, if you're having a little bits of something here and there, or some alcohol here and there, or anything else outside of just meat and water, monk fruit sugar. A lot of people, I talk to, say, well, I'm having trouble with weight loss, or I'm putting on weight or something like that, and I've done carnivore and it helped all these other problems, reversed my autoimmune diseases, cut off all these medications, but unfortunately it didn't work for me, so I had to stop. Well, first of all, it sounded like it's working great for you. It's reversing all these health issues, and that's the main thing. The weight comes, it's just that if you do it long enough, that the weight will take care of itself. But then you ask them, okay, what exactly are you eating? And they're eating different things outside of meat, and they are also using things like monk fruit sugar. I see that very commonly. That people use erythritol, monk fruit sugar, and they think, well, it's natural, and so that's fine. Well, sugar is natural. Stevia is natural, arsenic's natural, and so just make sure that you're not eating any of those things. Just just meat and water. That's it. High fat. Make sure you're getting enough fat so you're not getting constipated. Don't drink coffee, tea, artificial sweeteners, magnesium supplements, medications. All these things can speed up your bowel motility, and so you can sort of cover up if you're getting constipated and having too little fat. And so you want to sort of get down to just a baseline. We're not doing any of that, and then you judge how much fat you're getting in by whether or not you're getting constipated or loose stools or normal stools. And if you're doing that, then you know how much fat you're supposed to be getting in. So yeah, there's a few things there. But again, you're saying you're getting fat on your belly. Another thing too, people need to think about is stress and poor sleep. You can absolutely put on belly fat, particular, or intra-abdominal fat specifically, from these high stress levels, high adrenaline levels and cortisol levels, and that increases fat deposition in those areas. So make sure your stress is down. This goes for the previous question as well. Make sure your stress is down, that you're relaxed and as much as possible, or you're doing things that make you be able to relax and optimize sleep, prioritize sleep. There was something that I saw Dr. Tony Hampton say the other day, which was if you get 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night for a week straight, for 7 days straight, you'll actually get prediabetes. You'll become pre-diabetic in just those 7 days. And by sleeping 7 to 8 hours for 7 days in a row, you'll reverse that. So it makes a big difference, and so you need to address that as well. It's not just what you're eating, it's other things too, obviously, can play a significant role. Hey guys, just want to take a second to thank our sponsor, Carnivore Bar. I don't promote many products because honestly, all you need to be healthy is to just eat meat. For those times that you're out hiking, road tripping, or stuck at work and you want a nutritious snack that is just meat, fat, and salt if you want it, the Carnivore Bar is a great option. So I like this product not because it's just pure meat, but also because I want the carnivore market to thrive as well. And the more we support meat-only products, the more meat-only products there will be available in the mainstream. So if this sounds like something you'd like to get behind, check it out using my discount code Anthony to get 10% off, which also applies to subscriptions, giving you 25% off total. All right, thanks guys. Jenny Edwards says 9-year-old daughter has cyclical nausea, vomiting, diarrhea weekly. Blood work, MCV 79.9, MCH 26, platelets 428, TP8. Doc prescribes Zofran. I want to go dietary route, cut gluten, try keto. Certainly. I mean, the thing is, you need to make sure, you need to know what's causing the nausea and diarrhea and vomiting and all these sorts of things. But food is definitely something that can upset people's stomach. You just look at the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands at this point, testimonials from people who have suffered with their whole life with GI upset and nausea and bloating and pain in their stomach and IBS and IBD even, that completely reverse these things just by stopping plants and just eating a lot of fatty meat, and it just sorts them out. So yeah, she could absolutely be reacting to something that she's eating, and if she's eating a normal diet, there's a lot to react to negatively, especially in the modern era, because this processed food is just so awful. So yeah, I would definitely try to clean up her diet and just get her onto whole foods first and foremost. Try to cut down carbs as much as possible. Ketos, certainly cut out gluten and ketone and get into ketogenic diet if you can. I mean, cut down carbs significantly. Get rid of grains, seeds, beans, legumes. All these sorts of things can be really hard on the body and the stomach in particular, and cause leaky gut and other sorts of problems. Fiber can cause gut problems as well. So yeah, I mean, the closest you can get her to just a whole food meat based diet, I think the better that she'll do. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that. This question from Lisa. Fingernails are getting ridges. Am I lacking calcium? It depends on the ridges. So there's a lot of different fingernail signs, and you can look these up. You can just go onto the internet and look up images for fingernail changes calcium, fingernail changes iron, fingernail changes B12. There's a lot of very specific changes, so it depends on what that is. But I'm trying to think back. I certainly know that there's fingernail changes for things like low iron and B12 and things like that. Can't really remember about calcium though. But not to say that there aren't, but just trying to think back to like first year medical school for the fingernail changes and if calcium makes fingernail changes. But either way, you can look that up, and you can always check your calcium levels. Also, are you doing just a carnivore diet? If you're doing a carnivore diet, you're not going to be low in calcium. You're not going to be low on anything if you're doing it long term. If you were low in calcium before you started, you can be low calcium as you go along. It can take months to get back up to, more normal levels, but, you would have presumably had some of these changes at that point anyway. So, if you're worried about deficiencies in certain things, then certainly check them, check your blood work and see, if you're extraordinarily low in things, then you can always supplement. You can always take something, but it's something that will be addressed if you just fix your diet and if you just eat a proper human diet, as my friend Ken Berry says. But it's just a biologically appropriate diet. What we're meant to eat. People say, well, there's not enough calcium in meat. Like, who told you that? Think about it this way: all mammals drink milk. Wow, there's a lot of calcium in milk. That's where all their calcium comes in for all their bones. Really? So animals don't stop nursing until they're full-grown adults and have completely grown all their bones, right? No, they stop when they're pretty young, pretty small. The vast majority of the bone growth that animals do, all mammals do, happens after they're weaned off of their mother's milk and they start eating the food of their mothers. And 70% of animals are carnivores. So lions and humans, you look at the Inuit, they're not nursing until they're 17, I hope. And lions, they'll wean off as young lions, and then they'll start eating meat, and then they get the calcium from the meat. And you don't need all that much calcium because most of the bone growth and bone tissue is actually amino acids and collagen. It's just mineralized collagen, and that's what strengthens the collagen. But the structure is collagen and amino acids. So that's the majority of what you need. And then you just need proper regulation of that calcium and osteoclast and osteoblast. Whereas when you're eating a whole bunch of plants and oxalates and things like that, that strips out calcium, it binds out calcium, stops you from absorbing it, stops you from utilizing it. And then you just need more and more and more and more and more calcium to cover your gaps. You're not doing that when you're not eating those plants. You're just eating meat. So just like a lion, they're going to get all the calcium they need from meat. And where does a mother lion get her milk? Where does she get the calcium to make concentrated breast milk with a lot of calcium in it for her baby? She gets it from the meat that she's eating. She's not nursing from something else, and who's nursing from something else, who's nursing from something else. It's just this like Ouroboros, it's just sort of, there's just everything's nursing each other and they're just passing around the calcium. So you get it from the meat. If you are low on something, if you're very low on something, you want to supplement early on, go for it. But, meat will get you there in the end. It may take a bit longer than if you were to supplement. If you were like extremely low on B12, I'm like, getting a B12 shot's a great idea. If you're very low, because it can be dangerous, and so, but in a few weeks, few months, you're going to be up at a better level anyway, especially if you include, a bit of organs and things like that. If you're very deficient, or if you're someone who doesn't methylate these things properly, then you might be able to, if you want to just sort of play catch up quickly, you can just, get a shot or take a calcium supplement or something like that. I don't think people on a carnivore diet need to take a calcium supplement, certainly not long term. And especially in women, there are some studies that show that if you take calcium supplements at very normal doses, something like 900 to 1,000 milligrams a day, increases your risk of developing heart disease or cardiovascular disease by 15% for women. So you don't need it unless you're actually deficient. So get that checked and see how you go. Okay. So a question from Rudy. I would believe carnivore is good for an anemic, but would it be enough iron for someone who's had portions of small and large intestine removed? Supplementation needed. Depends on how much removed. It depends on if the parts of your intestine that have the receptors for absorbing iron have been removed or largely removed. Meat, heme iron, in meat, red meat in particular, liver especially, the organs especially, they're going to have the most bioavailable iron that's there, the heme iron. So it's over 3 times as bioavailable than the iron that's available in plants, for example. So when you're getting an abundance of very bioavailable iron, then you're going to have an easier time absorbing it. And so most people should be fine if you are in this situation when you've had large parts of your small bowel and you absorb this stuff in the small bowel, that then you might have difficulty and you may have to supplement. You could try a supplement. I mean, liver is a supplement. It's going to have a lot of heme iron in it. If it's not quite enough, you can try taking tablets, and iron supplement tablets, and see how you go. It could be that you've had such a large amount taken out that, sorry about that you've had so much taken out that you might have to basically get transfusions. Hopefully not, though. So give that a try. Just prioritize red meat and liver. See how you go. If that's not enough, then add in a tablet that can cause different constipation and sort of upset stomach and things like that. So just so it's better to get it from your food. But and if the supplements aren't working, then you might be in a situation, unfortunately, that you'll have to use transfusions every now and then. But hopefully not. Hopefully the meat and liver just do it for you. Laurel Roeder, thank you very much for the super chat. Worried last week about March 6th endocrinology appointment and refusing a statin. She was fine with it, okay, but wouldn't order fasting insulin. It's fine. She did order CPeptide. That's good. I'm not diabetic. Is this an okay compromise? Yeah, it's fine. It's honestly, it's academic too. If you're doing a carnivore diet, because your fasting insulin is going to go down. Your fasting glucose is going to go down. I mean, the reason you look at fasting insulin in the normal population or CPeptide and these sorts of things, you're looking for earlier signs of insulin dependency and resistance, and you're looking for an increased demand of insulin to get the same effect in blood sugar control. Often termed insulin resistance, but you'll see these numbers go up, right? And so you'll generally find elevated fasting insulin 10 to 15 years before you'll ever see blood sugar getting above into the pre-diabetic range. So I would really consider that pre-diabetes. Your body is compensating, but it's working extra hard. You're already having compromise to your system. It's not working smoothly and flawlessly. It's the cracks are starting to show. So I'd say that's pre-diabetes. And then when your body can't, even with this massively elevated insulin, can't control your blood sugar, then then that's sort of fulminant diabetes. Like your body is now not able to handle the glucose load that you're bringing into it, regardless of the amount of insulin that it makes, and it's going to start burning out its ability to produce insulin, and you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be in big trouble. So I think by the time that you sort of get into the pre-diabetic range with your blood sugar, that's 10 to 15 years past when we should have done something. And so that's why I think it's important to test fasting insulin. The C-peptide gives you similar information, and either way, it's academic. Because what do? You stop eating carbs, seed oils, alcohol, sugar, and you just eat an ancestrally appropriate diet where diabetes didn't exist. So that's what I would do. If you're just doing fatty meat and water, your insulin's going to come down. It's going to be low, and you're going to be fine. You're not going to have to worry about that sort of thing. as long as you're sleeping well, as long as your stress levels are low, and also just don't do chronic crazy amounts of cardio. Do sprinting, high intensity exercises, HIIT training, or weightlifting. It doesn't have to be sprinting. It can be other sorts of high intensity exercise, but you want to be anaerobic. So you want to be able to do something so hard that eventually you just build up so much lactic acid, your body just has to stop. And so those things can really help reduce cortisol and improve your health in other ways. So that's what I would do. And if you're doing that, you don't worry about all your blood, your fasting insulin and things like that. Tyler Villasiner, thank you for the super chat. Very fit 26-year-old girlfriend's left ovary has adnexal cyst. Uterus has large mass, possibly adnexal cyst as well. More ultrasounds to come. Thoughts or ideas? Well, it depends on what's causing these sorts of things. Is it actually a cyst on a uterus, or is it a fibroid? Fibroids are very insulin sensitive, insulin resistant. Insulin resistance is strongly associated with them, and so reversing insulin resistance, getting away from carbohydrates, going on ketogenic diets, can have some bearing on your fibroids and potentially reverse them as well, or at least shrink them or stop them from growing. Just like it can with polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS. So it depends, are these what are these cysts coming from? Are they actually cysts, or is there a fibroid component? Is there PCOS involved? Things like that. So, you can have cysts for a number of different reasons, but certainly, getting a proper diagnosis, knowing what it is, but doing a carnivore diet isn't going to hurt anyway. And we're seeing, more and more things be helped by it, that our bodies just sort of are a bit out of whack. They're a bit out of balance, and strange things happen. Strange things start to grow in areas and organs that aren't supposed to be, growing there. And then you reverse your metabolic issues and you get rid of all these different sort of toxins and weird things in your body. But, that's, but then, and your body just sorts it out. Vibes 714, thank you very much for the super chat. Vibes says, I'm really struggling with willpower. I have arthritis and Crohn's, so I really need to make this change, but I crave carbs and sugar as a way to deal with stress. Yeah, certainly. Look, that's a very normal thing, and that's something that we have to figure out. You need to figure out other sorts of methods and means to deal with your stress. You're going for walks, going for exercise, spending time with certain people, reading a book, listening to certain music, watching TV, something that's going to help you de-stress and chill out and not have to turn to comfort food that will sort of give you a bit of a dopamine hit and hurt you. I mean, that's what people use drugs for. They get all upset and they drink alcohol, or they use other substances to make them feel good in the short term, and then it just makes them feel worse in the long term, and then they just go back to their crutch, which is also what's burying them down in stress and sadness. So, you need to break that cycle. You need to do something more healthy and productive that is also de-stressing. And, so you need to find something. You need to find a hobby that is enjoyable, that you like to do. And then when you're stressed out, you go do it. For me, going to the gym is very de-stressing. It's something that I can do. I can get my mind off things, and I can just work out and feel better, and you'll definitely get healthy endorphins and dopamine and serotonin and all these sorts of nice things that your body wants. So do that. Also remember that these carb cravings are worse in the first 2 weeks and generally go away after that. If you are getting carb cravings, you're probably not eating enough either. Eat enough fatty meat until it stops tasting good. And if you're getting cravings, ask yourself, is my brain telling me I'm hungry? Try eating. Eat fatty meat if it tastes good, or eggs. If they taste good, you're hungry. Keep eating until it stops tasting good. Those cravings generally go away. Especially a few weeks on, a few months on, a few years on, if you're getting carb cravings and you haven't had, any sweeteners or anything like that, or alcohol that can, trigger those cravings again, you're hungry. You're definitely hungry if you're getting sort of looking at things longingly, going, oh God, that's going to taste so good. You're probably hungry, unless it's sort of like that addict sort of thing. Like, oh, I wish, because people are just used to just chewing on things and eating things. And then you think, okay, am I hungry? You try eating, like, no, I don't really want that. I'm just looking at the donut, in a longing sort of way. Drink some water, do something, just get away from it. But generally those go away after the first couple of weeks. So that's what I would do. You need to sort of, turn your compulsions and your addiction into a more favorable, positive direction. And just, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Usually after about 2 weeks, things are a lot better. Matt Staten, thank you for the super chat. I'm not seeing a tab. Okay, here we go. Down here, Matt Staten says, just want to say thanks for all the great content. Well, thank you very much, Matt. I really appreciate that. And I'm glad that you like it. I'm glad it's helping. Hopefully it's helping. Hopefully it's helping people anyway. Okay. John Ouellette, that's a cool name, on X says, hi, Dr. Chaffee. How do you feel about eggs and butter and bacon for breakfast? Great. Delicious. Try to get the bacon that doesn't have a lot of sugar cure. Some people that have more extreme sort of issues like autoimmune issues probably should steer clear of things like eggs and bacon, at least at first, so they can see how just red meat and water does for them, and sort of get into, get that low as possible, and then and see how their body goes. But eggs and bacon are great. Just make sure you're eating enough, and also trying to avoid the ones that have more sugar and things like that. And if your body's reacting to them, negatively, some people do react to eggs, especially egg whites, and some to bacon as well, especially with autoimmunity. And so if that's you, if you're reacting to them, then, just cut them out. Apex Anthony, thank you for the super chat. Looks like there's a question down here. And that's the same thing, guys. These guys are doing. If you put in a question, and for some reason, like the super chats go through without the question going through with that, if that happens, just put the question directly below, and we'll try to bring it up. Apex Anthony says, having issues with IBD, so irritable bowel disease, and carnivore only 1 month, pure carnivore, no coffee, 4 months to pure carnivore line diet transition. Do I need a bile binder, diarrhea every few days? No, not necessarily. 4 months to pure carnivore line diet transition. So I'm assuming you're saying it took you about 4 months to transition, and now you've been 1 month pure carnivore, if I read that correctly. If that's correct, still early days. You need to give this a lot of more time. Quite often, after a month of just line diet, people will feel a lot better with IBD. They won't be getting all the bloody diarrhea and the pain and the discomfort. Your microbiome is going to change quite a lot. You can get diarrhea from that. And then obviously the proportions of meat and fat that you're getting, protein and fat that you're getting, can cause loose stools. So if you're saying you're having diarrhea every few days, what are you doing on the other days? Are you having dry, hard, blocky stools, and then you're having diarrhea? If that's the case, you're probably having overflow diarrhea. We have this block there, and then there's just liquid coming around, squirting around the outside, and you're getting liquid diarrhea. And then all of a sudden a boulder comes out, and then liquid diarrhea. If that's the case, you need a lot more fat. If you're just normal soft stools, and every now and then it's just loose stools, just pull back a bit on the amount of fat. So on those days that you're getting the diarrhea, just look at how much fat you're eating and just say, okay, maybe my body needs a little less than that. If you're taking other supplements, artificial sweeteners, certainly. Even gum, artificial, fake sugar and gum can cause diarrhea, especially if you're eating a lot of it. But on a carnivore diet, when you don't have any fiber, it just moves things through faster because you don't have this big blockage of fiber that you have to contend with. And so things just move faster because it's just liquid. You just liquefy meat and then you're absorbing it, but now you're speeding up the motility and just goes through. So just keep those things in mind. Peter Topoff, thank you for the super chat. Hi, Dr. Anthony. I am a big fan. Not a diet question. Was just told by my doctor that my 3-year-old needs his adenoids removed. He mouth breathes and snores at night. Is surgery the way to go, or is there other solution? Well, so mouth breathing isn't great for facial development. So you want to try to encourage nasal breathing through during the day, and you can try taping his mouth at night, putting mouth tape on at night, so it forces him to breathe through his nose while he's sleeping. So normally sometimes they just breathe through their mouth, and it's not good for you, and you get sort of this. You actually get different, changes in the facial structure as well, and other health issues. If you're not breathing through your nose, actually it makes a difference if the air goes through your nose as opposed through through your mouth. It seems so. You're breathing through your nose, you release more nitric oxide, which is good for you in a number of different ways. And it also seems that it warms and circulates in the nasal cavities. Your nasal sinuses are actually massive. This whole part of your face is just hollow. And so it's, there's a lot going on there. And then, so trying to encourage nasal breathing during the day, and then, mouth taping at night. It could be that horse is out of the barn and sort of there's a lot of tissue there, and it may not be possible for him to breathe through his nose now because of that. I don't know, but I would try that anyway, and hopefully that can reverse that. I mean, if he's really just can't breathe through his nose, and obviously it's not safe to tape his mouth, because he's going to be, it's not going to be possible for him to breathe through his nose. And so, you're sort of stuck at that point, but I'd at least try that. And hopefully that would help. And also, is he on a carnivore diet? That's going to help him develop his facial structure and his proper oral cavity and nasal cavity properly, and the soft and hard palate are going to be better able to form and develop properly as well, and that's going to help his breathing. That's going to widen out the air, the passageways for his for nasal breathing, and could help quite a lot. So think about that too. Betty Rice, hello. I'm 79 years old and have lost 35 pounds eating meat. That's great. But having a lot of pain under my left breast. So I'm wondering if it can be hard on your heart. No, it's not hard on your heart. If you have some sort of pain and you're concerned about it, certainly go see your doctor. If it's pain that you can press on, it makes it worse. That's generally costochondritis or some sort of pain in the muscular skeletal sort of pain that you're sort of pushing on and reproducible. If you push on your ribs and your ribs hurt, it's probably your ribs. If you're going to push on your ribs and there's a pain, it's not going to be your heart. It's not going to hurt your heart. So, is it reproducible pain? Does it get worse when you sort of push on it? And if so, then that's more reassuring. Sharp pains can be from issues with your lungs, or it can be issues with the ribs or with the musculoskeletal tissue. It can be a lot of things, but it's often not to do with your heart. Just chest pain, sharp chest pain isn't typically the heart, but it could be. So if you're worried about it, definitely get your doctor to check it out. Carnivore diet's not going to be hard on your heart. In fact, it's very helpful for the heart. I see more and more people improve their ejection fraction with their heart, so they're coming out of heart failure, and they improve their health in many other ways. But do see your doctor, get it checked out, make sure that that's okay. But a carnivore diet won't hurt your heart. No. Vibe 714, thank you for the super chat. Are you okay with beef isolate protein powder for the same meals as long as we make sure we get some fat in it, since those powders have zero fat? I mean, yeah, you could. I mean, it's sort of chasing your tail there. I mean, you're going to get a ton of protein. beef protein if you just eat beef, with the fat. And so that's, going to be better. Most people are not getting enough fat as opposed to not enough protein. If you're just eating meat all day, you're going to get a ton of protein. If you feel that you need more and you want to take some beef isolate powder with no sweeteners or flavorings, that's probably the one that I would do. But you almost don't need to take any, you really don't need to take any protein powders if you're only eating meat, because you're going to get just a ton of protein. So, but if you were going to take protein powder and you thought that was what your body needed, then that would be the one to take. But yes, definitely make sure you get enough fat and actual meat, because the protein is only one part of this. It's an important part, but there are so many essential nutrients that come in meat, in the muscle tissue and the organs and the fat that you require long after you get enough protein. So you need nutrients, not just protein as well. You need protein, you definitely need protein, but you need nutrients as well. So you get that from food. So that's what I would do. And it's expensive. All these protein powders and supplements, they're expensive. You don't need them. You just need to eat properly and just eat meat and drink water and exercise. I think that's that exercise and getting good sleep and reducing stress and trying to get out in the sun and being outside and enjoying the outdoors, not being cooped up all day. I think all these things are very positive to your health. So that's what I would do. But yeah, if you're gonna do protein, that would be the one to do. Jesse and Megan Malt, thank you very much for the super chat. Hi, Dr. Chaffee. Carnivore December, meat, salt, water, low energy still. I just incorporated 25 milligrams of iodine and very helpful, but noticed ridges in nails and increased bruising. Would betadine HCl help, or be vitamins? If you're getting weird nail changes, probably worth going to see your doctor and see is there something specific going on that you're missing? Some people just need a bit more organs and liver and things like that if they're missing out on some B vitamins like B12 or folate. And so that is worth checking out, and just get your doctor to see what exactly your nail changes are and then test you appropriately. If you're not absorbing things properly, then it might be that you need to increase your liver consumption and organ consumption, because it's going to have a higher proportion of these nutrients that your body is going to be able to absorb more of. And so if iodine's helping, that's great. Hopefully that continues to help your energy. But yeah, do get that checked out. Make sure that your doctor sees that. So can't tell you that betadine is going to help. I don't necessarily think it would. I mean, you're just getting iodine, betaine, HCl. Oh, I don't know. As far as the HCl is concerned, most people have perfectly fine stomach pHs, and so I wouldn't expect that to be an issue. If you think you're having any sort of absorption issue because your stomach acid is not concentrated enough, just don't drink water for 2 hours before or after a meal, and they'll be very concentrated. B vitamins, liver has all the B vitamins that you need, so add in a bit of those, and just get your doctor to check it out. You may have an absorption issue, a malabsorption issue that you need to address in other ways. Pernicious anemia is a real thing. Cause you have autoimmune attack to your stomach, and you can't make intrinsic factor, which binds to B12, and your body absorbs that complex. You can't absorb B12 without intrinsic factor. If you've stopped making intrinsic factor, it doesn't matter how much B12 you eat, you're not going to absorb it, and so you'll need to take under the tongue B12 or get injections regularly. And that's pretty rare that people actually get to that point. Some people are just impaired absorption even when they have pernicious anemia, but it does exist where people have just completely lost the ability to make intrinsic factor. So definitely worth checking out. Mrs. Meat Suit, thank you for the super chat. Hope this question is okay to ask. I've seen many women saying their breasts have gotten larger, more full on a carnivore diet. I've noticed the same thing. Any idea why this might happen? Yeah, just because your hormones are normalizing. You're getting more normalized estrogen, progesterone levels, and testosterone levels. All these things need to be in balance, and so this is going to sort out your your hormones. You know, you see a lot of women, young women, and then they go on the pill, and then it changes their breasts, and they come off the pill, and then their breasts deflate and sag and things like that. And there's these hormonal changes that have effects in your body. I think that the hormonal birth control pill is probably one of the worst things a young woman can do, because you're just screwing with your hormones. Like, why would you do that? Especially during puberty. Like, that's not when you mess with your hormones. So that's why your hormones are just balancing out and normalizing, and that's healthy, and you're being healthy. Also, you're getting good collagen. You're getting more amino acids, you're getting more meat, you're getting more collagen. And so you're getting healthier, thicker tissue, and so that can definitely be a factor as well. A lot of people find that their skin thickens up and tightens up. If you sort of are around people and enough, you sort of see that the integrity and tension of the skin and the goes away, and the elasticity sort of goes away as people age, and their skin sort of thins out. They get that sort of paper thin skin that some people in their later years get, or people in their not so later years get if they smoke a lot and drink a lot and things like that. It's this paper thin skin. That's from being unhealthy and having poor collagen. So I certainly noticed my skin tightened up and became much more youthful when I switched to this, and a lot of people do too, and that will happen with all the tissues in your body as well. Lori P, thank you so much for the super chat. Doc prescribed Metformin 500 milligrams. Is that okay? I forget it. Well, it depends on what you're being prescribed it for. It's a diabetes medication. Some people even take it for longevity purposes. David Sinclair takes it as a on a daily basis, because it seems to have, in animal models, life extending properties. Do they extend life in humans? We don't know, because we've never done an actual long-term, lifelong study to prove that it did. We have inference, we have mechanistic data, we have animal data. But one thing that it does is it lowers blood sugar and it lowers insulin. And two things that will extend your life is having lower insulin and lower fasting blood sugar. You get the same thing from a carnivore diet. So I think that in a lot of ways, just going on a carnivore, there's a lot of things that, these things are going to extend life, but why are they going to extend life? Some of these things are going to just basically undo some of the damage and harm that we're doing to ourselves by eating an inappropriate diet. And I think Metformin is one of those things. Does it have something on top of that confers a benefit? Maybe, but I don't know. So, and I don't think, no one knows, so a lot of this stuff is based on animal models, and animals, generally fed things with carbs and garbage like that. So I don't necessarily think that it is going to extend life, but I don't know. Just haven't really been tested in our patient population. And also, I'm on a 130-year timeline. I figured genetically, if you don't do anything, if you just do everything normal, and you should live on average 120 years, which means some people are going to live longer than that. So I'm going to, work out and exercise and be active and try to be as healthy as I can. So I'm figuring maybe I'll get to 130 or more. And so I got time. The next 20, 30 years, if they say that Metformin, no, this just really does the king's business, then fine. Hop on some Metformin then. I got time. I'm not convinced that on a carnivore diet that this is going to extend life, but it is a diabetes medication. If you are diabetic or pre-diabetic, it can help you, get your blood sugar down, which is good. And that is a good thing. Long-term carnivore is going to do the exact same thing. This can be a helpful bridge to sort of get it down now, so you're not damaging yourself now while you're affecting a carnivore diet, and then you can come off it later. So it depends on what they're putting it on for. If you have diabetes and pre-diabetes, and sure, but once you don't have that, you don't need to take it. If they want you on it for longevity purposes, that's entirely up to you. If you think the evidence is convincing enough that you want to try that. And then there's also people use it in cancer as well to try to get that glucose levels down even lower and get their GKI lower. So they get their ketones up and their blood sugar lower. And sometimes people use metformin for that. So it depends on what you prescribed it for. Karen Catlin, thank you for the super chat. 60-year-old female, carnivore 1 year, low energy, weak muscles, weight loss stalled, 24 to 48 hour fasting for weight loss, ? Will I dump toxins? Any advice? Yeah, well, sometimes people don't eat enough and that can stall their weight loss. Sometimes we're putting on muscle and bone density and the weight isn't moving, but our body composition is changing. The main thing is how your health and your energy. You're saying you have low energy. So that's what I'm more concerned about, is why do you have low energy and why did that change now? Are you eating enough? Are you eating enough fat? Are you eating until fatty meat stops tasting good? Are you drinking enough water? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you addressing stress issues? So you need to make sure that all of those pieces of the puzzle are addressed. It's very easy to undereat on a carnivore diet. And so if you are chronically undereating, you will lose weight, but you'll also reduce your metabolism, and you can actually stall out on your weight loss unless you're really undereating. You're just starving yourself. But that's not good. That's not what you want. So if you're chronically undereating, you're going to reduce your energy levels. You're going to reduce your metabolism, and you're not going to feel great. And you can stall your weight and weak muscles. There you go. I mean, so there's something going on here that from the sounds of it, it's not you're stalling and these things are happening. So the weak muscles and the low energy, this is sort of a new thing. This is sort of came up recently, which sort of suggests that something changed, that you're not eating enough, and your body's just had enough of it at this point. So, make sure that you're eating enough. Make sure you're eating enough fat in particular. Make sure you're drinking enough water. You eat fatty meat until it stops tasting good. That's different than when you feel that you could stop, which is what we normally have to do to not put on weight. And so you just eat until it stops tasting good and drink enough water, get enough sleep. If you're doing all those sorts of things and you want to incorporate, 24, 48 hour fast, you could. I don't think they're necessary. I don't think you need to do that. Certainly longer fasts, you're going to slow your metabolism down. You have to, because now you're just running on your savings. And the last thing you want to do if you lost your job and you're living on your savings is just go on spending sprees, right? And your body is going to be fiscally responsible in that way too. So I would try those things, and good luck with it. I'm sorry that you're not feeling great. Also, are you getting enough from your meat? Maybe you need to add in some organs. Maybe, you need to have a bit of iodine, because, if you're getting meat from areas that have low iodine in the soil, it could be that your iodine levels are low. So you can get checked out. You can talk to your doctor. You can check your thyroid levels, check your iodine levels, check your nutrient levels. You can add in a bit of organs here and there, and a bit of Lugol's iodine drops, like just one drop, a day, you can do that sort of thing. So these are some things that you can try on top of that as well. Darvit, thank you very much for the super chat. It's very kind of you. You did not need to do that. Hi, Dr. C. Could the vertical raised ridges on fingernails be iodine deficiency? That's a good question. I'm not 100% on all the nail findings. It's just been so long since I've looked at those. But let me see here. I'm just going to look it up. That's not really showing here. What the hell is going on here? Well, it's saying here that like thyroid changes, there's like slow growing thin nails. It doesn't say anything about sort of vertical lines. Yeah, if you're worried about nail changes, definitely go to see your doctor. It's not something that I normally deal with, so it's just maybe check it out with your doctor, and they may know. Dan Fairbanks, thank you for the super chat. 11 months carnivore here. Lost my brain fog for maybe 2 months early on. Then it came back and stayed back. Any ideas why? Closest I've come to cheating is herbal tea. Oh my goodness. How dare you? No, look, it's that's interesting. You have to think about other sort of things in your vicinity, in your environment. Are you sleeping enough? And are you sleeping enough? Are you de-stressing? Are you eating enough? Are you getting enough water? All these sorts of things. What are you eating exactly now? And could any of these things have to do with your brain fog? So having brain fog after it's been gone for 2 months sort of suggests that something came back into your life that is causing the problem. So just try to see what that was and see if there's something there that's causing this. You can try having a food diary, a symptom diary, where you just write down what food you're having on certain days and what symptoms you're getting with those foods, and see if there's a connection there. Simple experiment. If you fast for 2 days, does that clear your brain fog? If it doesn't, it has nothing to do with the food you're eating. There's something else in your environment, something else going on that's causing this. Dehydration can do that. Not drinking enough water, not eating enough food, not eating enough fat. If you're eating a lot more protein than fat, then you may not be generating as many ketones as your body really wants. Things like that. So just give those things a try, and see how you go. So many things you just have to do a process of trial and error and elimination. John Ouellette from X asks, is bacon cured with sugar and sodium nitrate okay on carnivore? Nutritional level says 0 grams of sugar. Yeah, they say that. This is because it has less than 1 gram. They're allowed to say 0 grams. Yeah, look, it's not great. You don't want it. There are non-sugar cured examples of bacon. The sodium nitrates, it's fine. I mean, your saliva makes more nitrates than's going to be in bacon, and there are way more nitrates in plants and vegetables and things like that. In fact, you'll say like nitrate free, it's like natural cure, whatever. And you'll look in the ingredients and it says celery powder. Celery has way more nitrates than bacon does. And that's why they put celery powder and just a little bit of celery powder into the cure. And it's got tons of nitrate. So, if you get natural cured or non-sugar cured, that's going to be better. If you're, the other bacon that has, the low amounts, it still has sugar in it, but it's very low per serving. It's probably going to be okay. I just wouldn't do it all the time. It's not as good. However, it's still good. Ken, thank you for the super chat. I'm about 4 weeks into carnivore, and it feels like my anxiety is at an all-time high. Biochemically, what explains this gluconeogenesis? Well, that's not good. I'm very sorry to hear that. It could just be a transition period that's going to be transient, and hopefully this goes away. Long term, you're going to get more mitochondrial turnover, mitophagy, and sort of the turnover of the mitochondria, and then you're going to have proliferation of the mitochondria. It's going to make your brain work better, your neurons work better. Sometimes people get anxiety from just weird things like microbiome turnover. These bacteria in your gut are getting starved out, and they're freaking out, and they're sending up a whole bunch of signals up through your gut into your brain. As my friend Dr. Pran Yoganathan said, people talk about the gut and all the neurons and ganglion things like that are in and around your gut. People talk about this as the second brain, and he says that's actually your first brain. That evolutionarily, that was what was first developed. You have this very complex neural network around the digestive tube and the alimentary tract, and then the our brain is actually secondary to that actually develops secondarily as an offshoot of the gut brain, which is interesting. So it's going to have a lot of effect. The vast majority of your serotonin is made in those nerve cells in your gut. So having a screwed up microbiome could potentially do that. And that's something that sometimes people say. They get very anxious, they have massive cravings, and they're just desperate to eat carbohydrates, and they have other sorts of problems. So if that's the case and you're having that issue, or you're thinking that it might be a microbiome issue, you can always try having a bit of plain Greek yogurt with very low carb or no carb. Put on a piece of meat, chewed up, swallowed together, see how you go. And just give it time. I think this is something that maybe is getting a bit worse before it gets better, but I think it will get better. Just make sure you're just cutting out everything else besides meat and water, apart from a bit of plain Greek yogurt, if you want to go down that route. And then just everything else, all artificial sweeteners, monk fruit sugar, stevia, everything. Some people take powders and mixes and things like that have these artificial sweeteners in them, and I don't think that's a good idea. They can also cause gut dysbiosis. That can cause a change in your gut biome and breed gut bacteria that you don't want. So good luck with that. I'm very sorry to hear that. I do think that this will pull through. Maybe try some of those things. Up your fat. If you think it's, something else is going on biochemically, just, up your fat. You'll still be doing good things for your mitochondria and your biochemistry either way. But, do make sure you're getting enough fat. Do make sure you're getting enough protein. Do make sure you're getting enough food. Do make sure you're only eating that and nothing else. And then you can hopefully get through this and get to the other side, and hopefully it'll be a lot better on the other side, and potentially the gut microbiome issue too. So think about that as well. Here's my good friend, Dr. Robert Kiltz. Great to see you, Doc. Thank you very much for joining. That's great. And another special guest is Bill Knott. Thank you very much for joining. It's good to see you. Bill Knott is our friend up in Alaska who has his channel. And he's going to be in Carrie Mann's Healing Humanity documentary that he's making. And Bill's doing a great job losing quite a significant amount of weight, and has been stuck indoors for many years. And he's working on reversing his fortunes and getting out of there. So great job with that, Bill. He's a great channel and a lot of great updates, and very inspiring for people that are on this journey. Pinball 79. Do you ever eat a plant? No. Not even garlic on beef sometimes, or even ginger tea when you have the flu. Certainly not the ginger tea. I don't think it's going to help you. I think it's going to make you worse, honestly. And people putting honey and lemon and water, I don't think that helps your throat. I think that just gives you an excuse to have some sugar water. No, I don't put any seasonings on meat, except for occasional salt, but I don't really even use salt anymore. I don't like using them. I don't get too bent out of shape if I'm at a restaurant or traveling and they have some spices or something like that on it. I mean, I generally ask for them not to have it, and I try to avoid it if at all possible. but I don't have massive autoimmune issues where it's just like that is not an option. I just don't feel great. And so if there's spices, if someone else puts spices on it, as long as it's not too much, I might have it. I might try to scrape off as much as I can. And I certainly won't add it. I never add plants, and I certainly wouldn't have like a bloody salad or something awful like that. I just never even wanted to anyway. And so I'm glad I don't have to eat them now. But no, I actually think that garlic, while I used to like garlic, I don't like it anymore. I don't like those strong flavors covering up the taste of meat. I like the taste of meat. Meat tastes good to me, and I want that. I don't want a bunch of seasonings and rubs to cover up the flavor of the meat. I just want the meat. So yeah, no, I don't do any of that stuff. But I don't get too anal if someone else has added it to it, and but I just don't like it because I don't feel the best. I get a bit of brain fog. I just don't feel great. I get even more stuffy nose. I've broken my nose so many times in rugby that it just doesn't work properly. And so, even just a bit of spices makes it not work even more. And so, that's not what I want. So I avoid that as much as possible. And I certainly don't add it myself. Okay, Patricia Williams, thank you for the super chat. Looks like a question is down here. So Patricia says, I'm 5 feet and 69 years old, and I'm on a carnivore diet, and I'm not losing weight. I walk 8 to 10 kilometers a day, and I'd like to know what I'm doing wrong. Well, first of all, you're not doing anything wrong. You're doing great. So you're actively trying to better your health. It's something that you need to. It can be hard for some people because a lot of people come to this specifically for weight loss, and not everybody loses weight right away, and not everybody loses all the weight that they want to lose. Some people get down to, they lose weight down to a certain point and their body just says, no, that's where you're staying. And there can be a lot of reasons for this. If we come to this after a certain point, it may be that our body just isn't going to heal past a certain point. And we don't know why. But the main thing is your health, how you're feeling, how you're doing. And from a health perspective, the scale is really should be a tertiary consideration. Your health first and foremost, your body composition distant second, and then your weight really not at all. Because if you're putting on lean body mass and you're losing fat, you're staying the same weight. So we don't know what your body composition is based on the scale. So the scale is what we use typically. But when people go on Ozempic, they lose a lot of weight. But what a lot of that weight is lean muscle mass and bone density. You don't, that's terrible to lose that weight, right? And then after 2 years, people tend to gain back more weight than they lost. But they're not gaining back lean muscle mass. They're gaining back fat. So they've lost lean body tissue. They've lost lean muscle mass. They've lost lean bone density. And now they put on more fat than the muscle they lost. You know what I mean? So like this is not good. So weight is not what should be most important. I know that it is very important to a lot of people. And like, look, I have to lose weight. But the thing is that you can improve your health dramatically long before your weight starts to shift. And there are a lot of reasons why your weight doesn't just plummet down straight away. So this is for health. This isn't just for weight loss. Weight loss will happen, but your health needs to improve. Your body needs to heal. Your hormones need to heal. Your hormones need to go into balance. If you have leptin resistance and insulin resistance, you are going to find it difficult to lose weight. You just are. And so until that insulin comes down, until that leptin comes down, it's going to be difficult to lose weight. But on a carnivore diet, it will. And you'll see this over the months. These numbers come down, and I do check these in my patients, and I see it directly, and I can reassure them. I know what's going to happen, but they need that visual, like, hey, what's happening to my body? Okay, these numbers are improving. Okay, all the things that you said were going to happen, they're happening. Okay, I can I can be fully invested in this. And so that's why we do this. But the weight is not the most important thing. So look at Kelly Hogan. She does a lot of videos on everything really, but she has done videos on losing weight or not losing weight on a carnivore diet. At first, she didn't lose weight at first. She actually put on weight for the first 6 months, and that's scary. But her health was improving, and she was improving so much, and she was in these carnivore forums called zero carb forums, like zeroing in on health and zero carb health, which I still think are great, on Facebook. And they're all saying, don't look at the scale, trust the process. This is the best thing for your body. Your body's healing. It needs time to heal. And when it does that, then you'll start losing the weight. And sure enough, after 6 months, the weight started dropping off. But it's scary. It's scary if you're actually putting on weight. And it can take longer than that. I've seen people go, over a year having stalled weight and all these sorts of things. Also, make sure you're not eating any artificial sweeteners, and cut out dairy except for butter, because these things can stall weight loss. So you cut out absolutely everything else besides fatty meat and water. You make sure you're eating fatty meat until it stops tasting good. You're drinking enough water. Walking is great. Higher intensity exercises are really good too. They really stimulate your body to improve your metabolism and your health, and burn fat as well. So that's what I would do, and good luck with it. But just focus on your health, and you'll get there eventually. Just stick with it. You'll see good things. But focus on the health issues. Focus on the health improvements, and that can keep you motivated going forward to say, look, even if I don't lose any weight, I just feel amazing, and I'm coming off all my meds, and all these things are getting better, and so it's worth it anyway. And eventually you will lose weight. Motivational misfit. I'm just going to say, everyone, probably need to cut off the super chats now, because I've got about an hour before I have to. Actually, is it 11? No, actually, no, I don't have to do it now. We can have another we can have another sort of 15, 20 minutes. Let me see how much are there. No, it should be fine. Yeah, because I forgot I actually have a bit more time than that. So maybe we'll stop in 20 minutes, or stop super chats in 20 minutes, and then we'll go an hour after that. So Motivational Misfit says, my A1C went from 4.8 to 5.5 on 1 year carnivore. Any ideas? So the ideas here are that you could be getting healthier red blood cells. So if you're eating plant oils and things like that, they have plant cholesterol, which is called plant sterols. They're close enough to our cholesterol that that our body stops making cholesterol. Our body thinks it has enough cholesterol and doesn't make it, but we don't actually use the plant sterols like we do our own cholesterol. So we can't make, hormones and vitamin D and all that sort of stuff. And cholesterol makes up the cell membrane of all our cells. And so now all of a sudden, the plant sterols do get used in those cell walls, and they're just not good. They're not as good, and you get these stiff, rigid cells in the cell membranes. And that's not good for red blood cells, because when they get stiff and they can't fold and bend properly and bend around these little tiny corners, your body has to take them out, because otherwise they're going to get stuck and cause a little mini strokes and things like that. So can't have that. And so your body plucks these suckers out. So you can get an artificially low A1C if you have plant sterols in your system. And then when you go on a carnivore diet, your cell membranes can be healthier. Most people are eating plants and having oils and all that sort of stuff. So most people are going to have sterols, plant sterols in their bodies. So that 3-month average that we assume people's red blood cells live, because that's what normally red blood cells live on, that's in the normal population eating a normal diet. You're not eating a normal diet. You're not getting any plant sterols. And so your cell membranes could be much more healthy, and they could be living longer. than 3 months. So you're comparing a 3.5 month average to a 3 month average, or a 4 month average to a 3 month average. Obviously, those numbers are going to be skewed. Check your blood sugar. Check your fasting blood sugar a couple times a day. Right in the morning, and then before a main meal at night. Just see what your levels are, and if that's just not lining up at all with your A1C, then then that's probably what's happening. And that happens. A lot of people find that they have the CGM, constant glucose monitor, and they're like, these numbers are not lining up with my A1C, and they're spot testing, and their CGM seems to be accurate. The other idea is that if you're eating a lot more lean muscle mass than fat, then you're not going to store that protein, and you're going to turn that into glucose, and then you're going to convert that into fat for storage, and so that can sort of artificially bump up your numbers as well. So think about that. If you're so you can bump up your fat content, and remember that your red blood cells may be living longer, and so it's not necessarily indicative of what your blood sugar is. So check your blood sugar and see what it is. If it's nice and normal and good, in a good range, don't worry about it. Paula, thank you for the super chat. I have protein in my blood, and I'm wondering if it will be safe to do a carnivore diet. I'm assuming there's a blood marker on your blood panel called protein, and so sometimes you have higher protein levels. That's not just protein. That's not just total amino acids that are running around your body. That's a specific, those are specific proteins that are in the blood that keep basically keep water in and not leaking out into your tissues. Yes, it's absolutely safe. It's 100% safe for anybody to do a carnivore diet that I know of. There, could be some specific medical issues or injuries or something like that someone may have, that they may have some slightly different requirements. But we're all humans. We all require, or we all are all optimized by a carnivore diet. So, yeah, you can definitely do that. And quite often, people with low or high protein levels or low or high whatever levels, tend to normalize those when they get onto a normal diet, because their body's working normally again. My dinner ate vegan. Andy, thank you for the super chat. Hi, Dr. C. I got a glucose meter reading of 100 after dinner of 2 burgers. Half hour later, had 16 ounces of electrolytes with stevia. 30 minutes later, glucose was 107. Will that take me out of ketosis? Maybe. Check your ketones. Your ketones are going down, then yeah, you're suppressing your ketones. Stevia is an interesting one. The artificial sweeteners, some people will say that absolutely not. These things don't change your blood sugar. They don't cause insulin spikes or anything like that. Some studies say they do. Some studies say they don't. And some people say that they've had that experience with their CGM. And some people say with their CGM, they haven't. So there seems to be some sort of individual differences here. And either way, you're checking it and you've seen a difference, and check your ketones too. I just wouldn't have stevia on principle. It's a foreign chemical. It's from a plant, and my feelings on plants, but there's we don't know what these chemicals do in our bodies. It says, oh, well, it doesn't have calories, so it's fine. Okay, well, like lead doesn't have calories either. Like, it just doesn't make any sense that you would eat something just because it doesn't have calories. So, I don't think it's a great idea. These are chemicals. They're going to have chemical reactions in your body. There was a study I saw in mice where they gave them some stevia. It was like equivalent of one can of soda with stevia in it for mice, and it reduced their fertility rate by 55%. So is that going to do that for us? Who knows? But it's doing something, right? We don't just take these chemicals in our bodies and just think like, oh, it'll have no effect on our body. Of course it will. And that effect may be small or large, positive or negative, but it's going to have an effect. You're putting things in your body, and your body's going to interact with them. So I would just cut that stuff out. I mean, I wouldn't worry too much. If you're having if you're having those electrolytes, you can have them without stevia. There's plenty of options that don't have stevia. So, and if you're eating meat and your blood sugar comes up a bit, fine. If you come a bit out of ketosis, fine. Your body's doing that on purpose. You're eating what you're supposed to eat. Your body's going to do what it's supposed to do. As long as you're getting enough fat, and you're getting enough fat along with your meat, then I just think you just eat meat, and your body will get on with it. Kristen Glover, thank you for the super chat. I've been trying carnivore over the past month, but give into withdrawals and binging because the headaches are unbearable. Please help. Oof, yeah. So, well, a lot of things can cause headaches, like caffeine withdrawals in particular. Maybe sometimes if you're having trouble with caffeine withdrawals, then maybe just cut everything else except the caffeine and then sort of address that later. Or have a very small amount of caffeine, like a quarter of a caffeine pill, like 25 milligrams of caffeine, and then sort of take that edge off of the headache. And then, if it comes on again, you just have another little quarter tablet, things like that. The headaches from sugar withdrawals or artificial sweetener withdrawals, I've absolutely heard people say they have horrible headaches from getting rid of artificial sweeteners. Those again could potentially have a little bit of it just to sort of take that edge off, but you run the risk of then having a lot of it and binging like you are. Withdrawals go away. Withdrawals from benzodiazepines and alcohol can be dangerous. They can be life-threatening. Typically, withdrawing from caffeine and sugar and carbs are really uncomfortable and unpleasant for some people. Not everybody. Most people, they're not this severe at all. But they're not dangerous. They're not life-threatening. They're just, you're just miserable. So it goes away. It does go away. Keep eating fatty meat. Drink a lot of water. One of the main causes of headaches are low water. And so, even if you have another thing triggering the headache, water dehydration can make it worse. So drink a lot of water, eat a lot of fatty meat, and you can try the weaning approach if you want, but eventually it will go away. So good luck with that. Esther Ruth, thank you for the super chat. For a lady asking about breast pain, iodine from Dr. Berry. Okay. I think you're talking about like in her chest, though. It wasn't like necessarily in her breast. But yeah, iodine's not going to hurt. If you have Hashimoto's, it can trigger Hashimoto's. So if you have that, then don't take iodine supplements unless you actually have an actual deficiency. But yeah, otherwise go for it. Pure Blooded Patriot, thank you for the super chat. Oral health improved because each meal demands a full brushing. Flossing and water picking must be addressed. Yeah, you do get stuff stuck in your teeth. You look at like early prehistoric teeth and things like that. They actually built up calcification and in between the teeth and sort of around the bases, and that probably just kept that area pretty safe and protected, and they have very healthy teeth, and so they sort of built up that tartar, and but it doesn't have all the nasty bacteria that we get from eating a bunch of carbs and sugars, and so they were much healthier. They're much healthier teeth. So it could be part of that you get meat in your teeth, and your enzymes in your mouth will break these things down, even if you don't have access to dental floss. And that'll sort of come out, but you get sort of little buildup and things like that. But it's you can you've had there's worse problems. If this is making you address your oral health and keeping your mouth clean and tidy, then it's probably a good thing. And the bacteria is much healthier too, so people just don't get cavities and other sorts of problems as well. Baby Jesse James, thank you for the super chat. I've been almost full carnivore for a few months. Occasionally, I'm waking up vomiting in the middle of the night. Dear Lord, any thoughts on why? No, I don't know why, but thought things to try would be, writing down the things that you're eating on, on the nights that you vomit, or writing down again a food diary. Because if you're just writing it down on the nights that you vomit, it may be that 90% of the time you eat that thing, you don't vomit, so it may not actually be that connected. So track what you're eating, track when you're vomiting, see if there's a connection, and then stop eating that. You're almost full carnivore, so that means you're eating other things. Okay, so is it when you're eating some of these other things, is that making you feel sick, nauseous, and vomit? So I would do that. The food diary is a very, very powerful tool. Abby Gasparini, thank you for the super chat. Looks like the question is down here. Abby says, carnivore for 8 weeks. 8 weeks just, but I believe my body is allergic to the titanium in my skull from brain surgery. Will diet still work? Also, I only have half a pineal gland. I have extreme chronic pain. I'm really sorry to hear that, that you have such bad pain. Hopefully, the reduction in inflammation from the diet is going to help that, and hopefully that improves. So high fat, try to get your ketones up. Ketones suppress inflammation, and really get rid of everything else, especially things like coffee. We don't think much of coffee, but it can cause increased inflammation and increased pain. So just keep that in mind. If you do feel that you're reacting negatively to the titanium in your skull, then you can talk to your doctor about that, and you could potentially get it removed. Sometimes it's more trouble than it's worth, but it holds it on there so that the bone then heals into itself, and so you don't necessarily need the titanium plate anymore. But unless it has grown into itself, then then you may not be able to take it off if it hasn't done that. So, but most people don't respond to titanium. Sometimes there's more than just titanium in there. There can be other sort of alloys and nickel. Most people have reactions to metal, reaction to nickel. They can have a nickel allergy, and so if you think you're having a problem with that, then do talk to your doctor. And they can talk about that. I don't know why you're concerned about that, what your symptoms are, but it'd be worth mentioning to your doctor anyway. But I still think you can definitely do it. I don't think that's going to preclude you from doing a carnivore diet. In fact, it's probably going to remove a lot of sources of inflammation, so that different reactions that you have may not be as severe, and hopefully help your chronic pain as well. Probably not going to do anything for your pineal gland, but it may help it work a bit better. But in any case, I hope it does help anyway. Question from Lee. Thank you very much for the super chat. 5.5 months, beef, ghee, salt, and water, 140 grams of protein, 80-20 fat ratio, 2 months on painful gout plus numbness in lower legs, no weight loss. Is that likely a kidney issue, or why would my body be doing that? So numbness in the lower legs, that is, I don't know if that was started before or after. If you've had numbness before, then that can be an issue that persists. New numbness is probably something you should get checked out. It's not going to be from eating meat, but it could be something else going on. Gout, as long as if you're really just eating just meat, salt, and water, gout should go away. Sometimes you maybe need a little help with some medications, but now I've never suffered with gout, but I've spoken to a lot of people who do and have gone on a carnivore diet. Some just sort it out right away, and it never comes back. Some people said they basically get like 1 or 2 flare-ups, and then it goes away. And if they sort of power through it, it goes away and then it stays away. There are other forms of gout than just uric acid crystals. There's like 5, I believe. Now they're being called pseudo gout, and then gout is referring to uric acid crystals. But things like oxalates can cause gout or pseudo gout now. Same symptoms. And so, if you're oxalate dumping and getting rid of all this sort of stuff, that can cause, weird pain and gout pain and joint pain and that sort of thing. So something to think about there. And you can look at Sally Norton's work to sort of see if you think that might be something that's applicable to you. I don't necessarily think that's a kidney issue. You definitely do drink enough water to make sure that you're not, that you're filtering things out easily enough. Weight loss can be slow, like I said before. And if you're lifting weights and working out, which I encourage you to do, you'll encourage your metabolism, you'll encourage your body to use more fat, but you'll also put on muscle at the same time, which will offset the weight that you're losing. So I wouldn't worry too much about the weight. Just keep eating fatty meat until it stops tasting good. Don't eat anything else. If you need some medications to help with the pain or the gout, then that's fine for the short term. Hopefully you won't need that long term. Generally don't. And then think of the other things that can cause joint pain and gout, such as oxalates as well. Those are some of the things to think about anyway. But most people will get through this. This will just take a bit of time. It's a lot more difficult for some people to transition based on their past and what they were eating before. So good luck with that. Okay. Random Hugh, Tao Simp, thank you very much for the super chat. Hey doctor, I was told by some via Mendelian RCT that saturated fat is harmful after 25 grams. Is there any truth to this? Absolutely not. That's nonsense. A Mendelian randomized controlled trial, doubt it. Tell them to produce it. But the Journal of the American College of Cardiology published a large paper, meta-analysis, systematic review, looking at all the top tier pieces of evidence showing connecting, looking at saturated fat and its connection with cardiovascular disease. And they found, with the randomized controlled trials and the meta-analyses of randomized controlled trials, looking at all the highest levels of that evidence, that there was no association whatsoever between increased saturated fat intake and cardiovascular disease. None, right? And in fact, they found an inverse association between saturated fat intake and stroke rates. So the more saturated fat you ate, the less likely you were to have a stroke. The less saturated fat you ate, the more likely you were to have a stroke. So that was published in 2020 by people who had previously published things saying, hey, we should limit saturated fat. And now they're saying, ooh, God, we got it wrong. That's a mistake. And they concluded there should be no upper limit on saturated fat consumption. There's no safe upper limit. You can just eat as much as you want. There's no danger to it. And again, you only absorb a certain amount of fat. Your body has a pre-prescribed amount of fat that you will be able to absorb because of your bile. It is not possible to overeat fat. You cannot do it because you cannot absorb it. So no, I don't think that that's true. So Deborah asked a question. I'm carnivore since 2017 because my neurosurgeon advised that this was the best thing for my brain after gamma knife surgery. Amazing. Love to hear that. I'd also love to hear who your neurosurgeon was, because I'd like to shake his hand or her hand. Blood pressure 90/50, triglycerides 11. That's amazing. Doctor checks my bloods every 3 months. 71 years young, 5'4", 125 pounds. That's amazing. Really well done, Deborah. I'm really glad to hear that your neurosurgeon was onto this so long ago. I know my friend Dr. David Johnson over in Brisbane has been doing this for a long time. He's a neurosurgeon there, and he does carnivore and gets his patients on carnivore when they can do it. And then obviously Dr. Jack Cruz is a neurosurgeon, and fairly sure he does carnivore as well, and has for a while. And obviously he's very into other sorts of health aspects, such as light and getting sun exposure, and being getting in touch with your circadian rhythm is very important, which I would definitely agree with. So yeah, so it's good to see more and more people. And I've spoken to other neurosurgeons around the world. One was in Tennessee, and she is all for a carnivore diet, which is fantastic. It's really great to see more and more people doing this and recommending it to their patients. So thank you for sharing that, Deborah. Yeah, as you can see, guys, we're probably going to cut the super chats now. So we'll keep going with these, but we've got a number to get through, and I just want to make sure I get to all of them, and don't have to leave any hanging, because I do have to get to work before too long. Okay, so Roman Tuimata, thank you very much for the super chat. Hey doc, what are your thoughts on vitamin C infusions if on the carnivore diet for stage 4 cancer? Feel great, but chemo can't reduce my tumors. Love your work. Well, first of all, thank you very much, and I'm very sorry to hear that you or someone you care about has stage 4 cancer, or that anybody has stage 4 cancer. That is very sad. Vitamin C infusions, if you're doing any of these sorts of things, if that's what your oncologist recommends, then I would say go for it. There is evidence that vitamin C infusions can be helpful, especially in cancer, and reducing oxidative stress and different sorts of things. Even from the chemo and radiation, it can help sort of mop up a lot of this stuff. And people should remember that some of the doses that we use in oncology, when we're saying we're using massive quantities of vitamin C, we're talking about like 2.5 grams, so 2,000 to 2,500 milligrams. And I know people that take more than that on a daily basis. Just you need enough vitamin C. That is way too much. It's way too much to take more than 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day if you don't have cancer. If you do have cancer, there's some studies showing that over 3,000 milligrams actually causes oxidative stress. It doesn't actually relieve it at that point. It becomes an oxidant as opposed to an antioxidant. So there is an upper threshold to the amount of vitamin C you want in your system. For cancer, if your oncologist thinks that's a great idea, I think go for it. I think you listen to your doctors on the treatment side of things, and then you use a carnivore diet with a low GKI, low glucose ketone index, as an adjunct to help your situation and to improve your outcomes, because it does help. Chemo and radiation, being in ketosis, helps chemo and radiation. That's been shown in studies in 2018 and 2019. So I would definitely keep my GKI down below 2, below 1 if possible, through a combination of a very high fat carnivore diet with some organs. And you might have to restrict how much you eat, not eating until you're completely full on most days, to try to keep that GKI down. You may have to limit a bit of the food that you eat, and just sort of eating once a day, that will keep your blood sugar down and your ketones up and your GKI down. You check it twice a day. You check your blood sugar and ketones in the morning. You check it in the evening before your evening meal, and you're getting these data points, and you try to keep it below 2 as much as possible. And you may need to fast. You may need to fast for a few days or several days in order to keep that average GKI down. So, although Zofia Clemens doesn't do any fasting, she just has calorie restricted carnivore diet with a bit of organs, because if you're not eating as much meat anymore, you probably need more nutrient density, and so you have to have organs, and no supplements or anything like that. So that's what I would do. If your doctor thinks vitamin C infusions are going to be good, then great. You can also think about things like exercise, and that can be helpful as well. Resistance exercises, high intensity exercises, if you're able to do it. And there's like hyperbaric oxygen chambers seem to have a benefit as well. But as Dr. Paul Mason talked about in one of his talks, it has similar effects to just getting your heart rate up and doing high intensity exercises. You could do both, So I think for these sorts of things, you throw the kitchen sink at it, and you do as much as you can. And I certainly think that the diet is a major part of that, major part of that. And if your doctor thinks that vitamin C infusion would be a good idea, then go for it. I don't think that's a problem in that context at all. Riam Mooney, thank you very much for the super chat. Well, Anthony, love the channel. Well, thank you very much. With regards to your male patients that you've worked with, did all of their testosterone increase without fail? The ones I've checked, yeah. I have not seen people's testosterone fall when I've checked them. The caveat to that is I have seen people who've said that their testosterones have fallen online or in chats or things like that. But I always ask them, okay, when did you take your blood test? When did you take your testosterone test? What were the circumstances around it? And they're like, oh, I took my blood test after work. It's always going to be lower later in the day. You make testosterone in the morning, get this spike in the morning, and then it goes down, right? So by the time you hit the afternoon, your testosterone levels are way lower. So it's not just, your testosterone is not just here. You're not just pumping out testosterone constantly. You hit big peak in the morning, and then it goes down. And so you get your testosterone tested first thing in the morning. And you get it first thing in the morning between 8 and 9 a.m. You do it fasted from the night before 9 p.m. You just drink water after that. You don't only drink water in the morning. You don't take any pills or supplements or medications or coffee or tea or any of that sort of stuff. Keep your stress levels down. You don't get pissed off in traffic on the way to the clinic. And you don't do exercise or sexual activity the morning of or the day before, and you keep your stress levels down. All of those things are going to affect your testosterone levels. They're all going to affect your hormone levels and your cholesterol levels and all your other levels. They matter. If you take B vitamins, biotin is a B vitamin. Taking biotin supplements will disrupt your results from many blood tests, including your hormones. So you need to do these things in a consistent pattern. And so I have my patients do these things in a very consistent pattern, and I get more reliable results. And so in those cases, yes, I invariably see their testosterone go up. I really can't think of an example of one that did not on a carnivore diet. So, so far so good. Anyway, I'm sure there's going to be an exception to that rule. There are going to be people that just don't have the capacity to make much more testosterone. But the thing is that our testosterone levels are lower and going lower because we're impeding our body's own production of them. And we get put on medications way too easily. So, you have a 19-year-old kid and their testosterone level is 120, and they come into the doctor and they're like, oh, that's not good. Well, we'll check it again. We'll check it a couple more times, get consistently low. You're like, look, your balls just don't work. So you're just going to need to be on TRT the rest of your life. That's doing a real disservice to that young man, because you just change their diet and it will almost certainly change. Now, there could be something that damaged that, some sort of injury or illness, mumps damage the testicles. And so there are things that can permanently damage your testicles and the production of testosterone. Your adrenals make testosterone too, but your a lot of it comes from your testicles, and your DHT will largely come from your testicles as well. And that's more active than your normal testosterone also. But it's it is I've had that patient. I've had that 19-year-old kid, 20-year-old kid come in with 120, 180 level on his testosterone. I put him on a carnivore diet. 2 months later, bounced up to 400. So this is something that that you need to try first. I have 70-year-old men that double or even triple their testosterone levels up to what you'd expect for a 25-year-old, in good health. So that is what I see. And so if you're taking your testosterone consistently at the same time in the same conditions, if you get pissed off, if you get angry, if you do a heavy workout the day before, if you have sex that morning or the night before, you will get different results. So you need to do it in a consistent pattern, because if you take your testosterone in the morning, then you go carnivore, and 3 months later you test your testosterone in the afternoon, you will have lower results. But that's not actually accurate, because because you spiked in the morning and now it's down. So just remember that. And yeah, so far so good with my patient population anyway. Benjamin Farney, thank you for the super chat. Hey doc, what are your thoughts on things like zero net carb tortillas for those who want to add some variety to their diet? Pros and cons. Well, it depends on what's in there, right? You know what I mean? So zero net carbs would be things like, almond flour, stuff like that. So I mean, that's a cyanide pancake is what you're eating there. So I would avoid these things. I mean, keto is great because it gets you into a metabolic state, the metabolic state we're supposed to be in, and a lot of improvements and benefits come from that. But it's not just about the carbs. It's about, there are other bad things on this earth as well besides carbohydrates. There's a lot. There's a lot of them. So these sort of plant toxins are not what you want. Now you can make tortillas out of cheese and eggs, and so they're like egg white sort of things. You make a sort of a thin, sort of meringue tortilla that you can wrap something else in. You can wrap things up in. Or you can take Parmesan cheese and sort of melt that onto a pan, and then sort of flip that off. And you can just sort of fold it into a taco shell. And it's just this crunchy, salty, cheesy taco shell, right? So you can do things like that. Maria Emmerich's great because she's got a ton of recipes. She has a whole carnivore cookbook, and it has a lot of these things that you can make, little breads and tortillas and things like that. They're just using things like eggs and dairy and those sorts of things to make these, and they're, it's not exactly the same, but it's at least it doesn't have all the junk in it. Elle and I have a YouTube channel and an Instagram page called Kitchen Carnivore. So on Instagram it's kitchen_carnivore. I think it's just Kitchen Carnivore on YouTube. Okay, sorry about that, everyone. Yeah, my internet was being obnoxious, so very sorry about that. Let me see. Just get down to where we're going here. Thanks everyone for sticking with me. I appreciate that. Okay, so next question is from Dave McElroy. Welcome to Perth. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I've suffered from IBS since 20, now 54, developed into diverticulitis, then surgery. Can I start carnivore diet with an ileostomy? Absolutely. And in fact, you'll find that it's much better because you're not going to have all the fiber and junk come out of it that you cannot absorb. So I know quite a number of people with ileostomies or colostomies who now obviously ileostomies are going to be, it's more important for the ileostomy because it's further up the chain. So you're having less chance to digest things, but that find it much better to eat a carnivore diet because they just have far less waste into their bag, so they have to change it far less often as well. So that is definitely something that can improve with a carnivore diet and your and oh geez, sorry, I pushed the wrong button. And so that's going to actually improve things. So it's going to improve your health in general. Generally, you'll have improved IBS symptoms. The diverticulitis side of things, it's not going to. It can help, remove or improve your immune system, and you're not going to have all the fiber and seeds and weird corn chunks getting stuck in your diverticulae and getting, damaging that area and causing strains and tears and infections. So it can potentially do that. You can still get diverticulitis though. The diverticulosis, I have no reason to think that that's going to go away because that's just, just damage that tissue. Maybe you can get a bit more structurally sound, but it's not going to sort of reverse that. but it can hopefully help it reduce the frequency of the infections like diverticulitis and make them less severe. So hopefully they do. But yeah, you can definitely do it with an ileostomy, and it will be much better because you'll get much less output on your bag. So it'd be much easier to deal with. Mel Chaos, thank you very much for the super chat. I recently got a thyroidectomy. Will carnivore or ketovore work for me? I gained 10 to 15 pounds since the surgery and being on keto. Yeah, you definitely can do it. I mean, you need to get your thyroid hormones properly balanced from your doctor. You need to not only check your T4 or your TSH, you need to check your T3, your free T3. You need to see what that's doing, because almost always people are prescribed levothyroxine, and that is T4. T4 converts into T3. T3 is what actually does the job. If you don't have enough zinc, you're not going to convert T4 into T3. And you can have other reasons why you're not converting T4 into T3 properly either. So you give someone T4 and they say, oh, look, your T4 levels are fine. Your TSH is fine. But they're still having signs of hypothyroidism. They're not feeling well, low energy, etc., weight gain, and then you check your free T3 and it's super low, right? So unless you're converting T4 into T3 properly, then then it doesn't matter how much T4 you have, and unless you check, you won't know. So check your free T3 and see what that's doing. If that's not converting over properly, if that's not getting you up into an optimal level, sometimes taking something called it's like natural pig thyroid. It's desiccated pig thyroid, and you take that, and that gives all the T's. It gives T0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so your body doesn't need to, to sort of play games. Like you'll have enough T3 and T4 and all these other sorts of T's. Or if that's still not enough, you can get some slow release T3 from your doctor as well, and that can just target that one area that you actually need. So check it. Yes, you can definitely do carnivore and ketovore. In fact, you're going to be optimal in that situation as well. You're going to optimize your body's health. You're going to get more zinc to begin with, and so that can help with the conversion of T4 into T3. And it's just going to optimize your health in all these other ways as well. It's not going to regrow your thyroid. You're still going to need thyroid medication, and you need to make sure that that's in the right balance as well. So do check with your doctor, and do check your free T3. New Zealand veteran, thank you very much for the super chat and for being a veteran. Thank you for your service. Hi, Dr. Chaffee. Is it true that when exercising, the body will break down muscle, convert into glucose if glucose is not available, as body can't convert fat into energy fast enough to meet the needs? Absolutely not. That is a bald-faced lie. Your body will not catabolize your muscles, that's breakdown of muscles for energy, if you still have fat remaining on your body. So you absolutely convert fat into glucose, and you actually do it faster than you convert glucose into glycogen. Like you turn fat into glycogen faster than you can turn glucose into glycogen. Not many people know that. So there have been studies in human athletes. So these are human trials showing that carb-fueled athletes aren't able to replenish their glycogen stores as fast as ketogenic fat-fueled athletes just naturally. So the carb-fueled athletes sucking down sugar water like Gatorades or things like that, Lucozade over in New Zealand, they don't replenish their glycogen as fast as fat-adapted ketogenic athletes do just on their own, just from their fat stores. So no, that's a lie. That whoever's saying that, and I've seen some people say that oh no, you break down your muscles. You break down your muscles first, and it was only weeks down the line that you start breaking your fat. Total lie, flat out bald-faced lie. Your body goes straight for the fat. Your fat is exactly what your body wants to use. That is your main storage, energy storage. So yes, you that is a lie. That is a complete lie. So no, that is not true. Yes, that is a lie. Mel Chaos, thank you for the super chat. Question is below. Mel says, I recently got a thyroidectomy. Will carnivore? Oh, we already did that one. Yeah, recently got a thyroidectomy. Yes, still works. Still check your T3 and other sorts of things to make sure they're in balance. Patrice Thomas, thank you very much for the super chat. Will browning meat still be bad for us? Nope, not really. If you burn that living hell out of it, you're going to have some more buildup of different sort of chemicals that aren't ideal. But the studies that suggested that these burnt products are super horrible, they happen in animal models at thousands of times the levels that you'd get in a burnt steak. So probably not that translatable to just cooking meat normally. We've been cooking meat for hundreds of thousands of years. In fact, at least 800,000 years. There's evidence that we had ovens 800,000 years ago. So that's pretty amazing. And so we are well used to cooking meat, and we likely been cooking meat long before we figured out how to use an oven. Bill Schindler thinks that Professor Bill Schindler is a professor of archaeology and paleoanthropology at University of Maryland, now retired. He thinks that it's probably longer than that. He thinks that it's probably around 2.5 million years that we have had fire, because Homo habilis, when the ice shelf started coming down at the beginning of the ice ages 2.5 million years ago, Homo habilis actually went up into the ice, didn't run away scared towards the equator like the vegans think we did to go keep eating our fruit and berries. They went up into the ice, into the tundra where the megafauna was, and go hunt some mammoths. Hard to do that without fire. That's the point he makes. He's like, that's a lot easier to do if you're able to control fire and just be warm all the time. But if you've got big furs and things like that, that works too. And the Inuit sort of live up above the tree line, where they're not necessarily having fires all the time, but they're keeping warm because of their clothes too. But either way, we've had fire for nearly 1 million years at the very least. And so we've been cooking meat for at least 500,000 years before Homo sapiens existed. So this is built into our DNA. We've been cooking meat and cooking it over an open fire, and yes, browning it and burning it for 500,000 years before we existed as a species, at least. And so whatever happens when you cook meat, we're well used to it. We're well adapted to it. And that's what biology is all about. It's about adaptation. And the longer you have exposure to something, the longer you're able to, the better you're able to adapt to it. And we are well adapted at this point. Misty Bellamy, thank you for the super chat. 1 year carnivore, previously pre-diabetic. Last lab A1C is 5.2. Why is my fasting blood glucose reading always above 100, 110? My afternoon gets as low as 90. Too much protein, or don't worry about it? I probably wouldn't worry all that much about it. Your A1C is great. And being around 100 is fine too. Definitely 90 is perfectly fine. If you're having a lot more protein, then that can be converted into glucose, and that can raise it a bit. If your urea or your BUN is going up, and that can be a sign that you're converting more protein into energy because you don't have enough fat to do the same. And so that could be part of the issue too. So you can try increasing the amount of fat. That's always good. You have a limited capacity to absorb fat. So if it's too much, it just goes out. So you don't have to worry about eating too much fat. Also in the mornings, your readings are going to be higher due to the dawn effect because your cortisol is up. Also, if you're not sleeping well, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not getting enough hours of sleep, if you're not getting good quality sleep, that can also be an issue. If you are stressed, that will definitely raise your blood sugar. Like I said earlier, my friend Tony Hampton, Dr. Tony Hampton, said if you're averaging 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night, which is unfortunately where I'm at the moment, for a week, then you're going to be pre-diabetic. You're going to start getting elevated blood sugar levels. And so that's a problem too. So make sure you're getting enough sleep, make sure you're getting stress levels under control, and make sure you're getting enough fat. Could potentially be, a lot more protein and not enough fat, but it can be there's other things too. So just remember that. Tanya Wright, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Hello, Dr. Chaffee. Sending you a big thanks for your response to my question about Dr. Lustig and essential fiber. You're very welcome. Carnivore almost 1 year, many scale and non-scale victories, which is good. So that's what I was talking about earlier. People talking about, I'm not losing weight. So you talk about scale victories and non-scale victories. Really, the most important ones are the non-scale victories. That you want to improve your health. That's the most important thing. Scale should be really a distant background thought. So he's had many scale and non-scale victories, which is great. Will be for carnivore for life. You changed my life. Well, that's really great to hear. Thank you very much for sharing that. And I'm very glad to hear that you've been doing so well. And keep it up. And hopefully you just keep getting better and better and better. Gnome Hunter, thank you so much for the super chat. Any way to lower hematocrit for plasma donations? Like lower your hematocrit so that you can give a plasma donations? Generally giving, well, yeah, if you're just donating plasma, then that can be an issue. But if you're just giving whole blood, that'll lower your hematocrit. If you're just doing the plasma, you just give whole blood if you want. They can that's useful too. Plasma is when you sort of take out the blood, spin out the cells, keep the plasma, and then pop the cells back in the person, and your hematocrit will go up. Because hematocrit is sort of just how much cells are in your blood. And if you sort of took a little thin tube and you put your blood in there, you just let it sit, it just sort of, or you spin it, there's like how much is going to be cells and how much is going to be liquid. That's your hematocrit. No, I don't know what you'd want to do there, except for bloodletting, which I wouldn't do at home. I just donate blood, and then you will have a lower hematocrit then, because you're gonna have sort of fluid fill that space. But drink more water, things like that. That can potentially fill up your veins a bit more and vessels and all that sort of stuff. But you just drink meat and drink water, drink enough water, and your hematocrit is going to be what it is. If they're saying that's too high to give plasma, then just consider giving whole blood. That's also very important and useful, or platelets, or whatever. But it's but there's other things you can do besides just giving plasma. Okay, so the real deal had a question about kitties. So planning on giving meat to my kitties. Already do some, but thinking about searing sirloin steaks and feeding them blue rare. That's fine. They need raw meat. You lose taurine and other essential nutrients for cats. Cats need raw meat. So if it's just sort of blue on the sides or whatever, blue in the middle and seared on the sides, that's fine. You just give them to them raw. They will be perfectly fine with that. And so will you, as long as it's not contaminated through, basically people not washing their hands. The meat's usually fine. You can do that, as long as most of it's raw, but you don't need to cook it. They do really well on raw meat, and that's how they do best. Eloise Root, thank you for the super chat. Can carnivore restore a shriveled up pancreas? Well, it depends on what you mean by shriveled up pancreas. If you mean a pancreas that's pancreatic insufficiency, it's not making proper digestive enzymes, or it's not making enough insulin, potentially. But it depends on how far gone it is. It depends on how damaged it is. You can get intramuscular fat called myosteatosis. You can get organ fat like hepatosteatosis. You can also get it in your pancreas as well, and that can damage it. And that can damage the function of it before it starts scarring and getting permanently damaged. That can be reversed with a carnivore diet or other sorts of measures. Carnivore diet's not the only thing that will ever help any medical condition. It's just one of the best and probably the most straightforward and easiest. and most biologically appropriate. Your body's just working the way it's supposed to work, and just these problems just go away. You can jigger things around and improve things in other ways too. But I do think that a carnivore diet is the best from a dietary perspective. And then there are exercises, sprinting, lifting weights, and reducing stress and improving sleep and sun exposure and all these sorts of things that can also help. So it depends on how damaged your pancreas is. Is it past the point of no return? Some of it's going to heal. Unless you have a completely dysfunctional pancreas that doesn't work at all, then something's viable in there, and what's viable in there will improve. And so hopefully it improves enough that you don't need to take any medications for that. But if you do, then you do. And, don't be shy of that. That's why we have medicine. That's why we're supposed to have medicine. Now we're getting medicine for everything. We're inventing diseases. We're manufacturing chronic diseases and damaging our bodies through the things that we're eating. We're being sold, and then we're getting sold the medications on top of that. So those medications I don't agree with. They're good for certain circumstances to bridge some gaps, but they really shouldn't exist in the first place, because these shouldn't have been problems in the first place. But some medications really help. If you have a damaged pancreas and you need Creon or other sorts of digestive enzymes, then take them. It's like that is helpful in those situations, and hopefully there's enough there to heal and come back. Dawn Excuses. Thank you for the super chat. Greetings from Germany, Dr. C. My mother has no gallbladder and gets terrible stomach problems after eating meat without greens. Any idea what to do? Just ease into it. Oftentimes people will have sort of psychosomatic sort of reactions to just eating meat, because meat's bad, I'm supposed to eat greens, and you can give yourself an upset stomach. Just have a bit. Having no gallbladder means that she might have to split up her fatty meals throughout the day, because she's not going to be able to absorb as much. That's not going to cause upset stomach. That would cause diarrhea, if anything. Many people will form a pseudo gallbladder, and that's an outpouching of the common bile duct that acts pretty much exactly like a gallbladder. I think they can even get stones. So, you just have that problem again. But, you won't have that problem if you eat enough fat, because you won't have bile sitting there and concentrating and turning into stones. So maybe just ease into it. If this is new for her, just try eating a little bit at a time, and just sort of getting a bit more used to it. If she feels she really needs to eat greens, maybe she has a bit just for her own psychological health, and sort of try reducing that down and increasing the meat, and reducing the greens and increasing the meat. We are all designed to eat meat. It's not going to harm her to eat meat. So this is generally people just not used to eating meat, and they just sort of get so worried they can give themselves an upset stomach. That's usually what's happening. So, but that can be unlearned. These same patterns of learning can be unlearned. So hopefully she's able to do that. Feral Grandma, thank you very much for the super sticker. That's very kind of you. IT, thank you very much for the super test. Very generous of you. I recently started back on carnivore. I was having a hard time getting enough fat. Was eating mostly ribeyes. I started doing pot roast. Feel better with the fat. Is there a nutritional downside to slow cooking? I don't think so. The argument could be that you're cooking things well done, and so you're denaturing certain things like taurine, glutamine, and other sorts of things that are heat sensitive. But at the same time, you're making other things more bioavailable. You're slow cooking things, and you're breaking down the collagen, tendons, connective tissue. So you're going to absorb that more, and you're going to get better bioavailability and absorption of those sorts of things, which are typically harder to absorb. So you lose some things, you gain some others. And again, we've been cooking meat for at least 800,000 years. So I think that, we're probably pretty used to cooking meat. More taurine is good, but it's not technically essential for most people. Now, there's going to be some people that probably do need taurine in their diet, just like there are people that do need carnitine in their diet. They say, that's not an essential amino acid. Yeah, it is to 1/3 of humanity. So, only 70% of people make enough carnitine for our basic needs, and more carnitine is better, just like more taurine is better. So, I think if you're not eating, the slow cooked, completely well done meat all the time, and you're getting less cooked meat sometimes as well, I think that's fine. So yeah, and just go out with how you feel. If you feel good, then you feel good, and don't worry about it. Joseph Soria, thank you very much for the super sticker. I really appreciate that. And there's a couple other questions here there's one from Margaret O'Connor. Is it true the Italian national rugby team is all carnivore? I don't know, actually. I hadn't heard that. I know that there are several All Blacks, New Zealand All Blacks that are carnivore. I believe, well, I was told anyway that the Frank brothers on the All Blacks are carnivore. One's a prop. He's 38 and he's just still kicking ass, and just got signed to the Crusaders. At 38. For a very, very high impact, high intensity position at front row. Most people's bodies just don't last that long in that sort of environment. So, that's like an NFL lineman, playing like an offensive or a defensive lineman, at 38, getting, going to the Pro Bowl every year. That's a serious accomplishment. And that's a testament, to his health and his determination and his diet, really. So, and there are more and more professional rugby players, especially, coming to a carnivore diet, and in rugby league and rugby union, and in the U.S. and New Zealand and Australia and around the world. So I hadn't heard that about the Italian national team, but that'd be really cool. I know that there's some top soccer players in the world that are carnivore now as well, and just absolutely loving it too. So it's growing. People are getting onto this, and they're figuring it out, and that it's something that can really help them in their health and their performance. So yeah, it's good to see. If someone knows about the Italian rugby team, definitely let me know and put that in the chats and tag me, because that'd be really cool. And Ancient One says, for sure, this is one of the coolest chats on YouTube. Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I think there's just one more sort of chat here that's popped up by Feral Grandma. So many carnivore rugby players, we need to round them up and challenge the vegans. I don't know if there'd be enough vegan rugby players, but could always do that. I'm sure there are a few. We put some competitions together for sure. All right, everyone. That's the last of the super chats. Just one question popped up here. What are your thoughts on garlic and spices while adapting to carnivore? If it helps you do it, if it helps you get through the adaptation phase and stick with it, then go for it. If at some point it's worth stopping and seeing how you feel without it. I feel much better without the stuff, and so I definitely prefer not having it. But if it helps you sort of get to the goal line and just get only on meat, then that's great. Just at some point, maybe try coming off of it. But if it helps you just eat only meat, then that's fine. It's a lesser of two evils. You're taking out thousands of other things that you really don't want. And so that's definitely a net gain. Okay. All right, everyone. I think we'll stop there so I can get ready and go to work. So I got patients coming in. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate you coming on and joining the live. I'll be trying to do 2 of these a week. I don't know when I'll be able to do my Wednesday one next week. I actually have a a debate. There's some vegan activists here in Perth, and they're going to do that on sort of like it's not really a TV show. It would be sort of web-based, but sort of that setup. Apparently they did one of these before with some farmers here in Perth and or Western Australia, and some of these same vegan activists, and it went very viral. They got something like a total of like 90 million views. on all platforms, which is pretty crazy. Well, thank you all for all the thanks. That's very nice. And so, so we're doing that now. And a couple of friends of mine here that are carnivore doctors here in Perth are going to be joining with me to go in and butt heads with the vegans. I was going to say butt heads with the butt heads, but that's not nice. They could very well be very nice people. From their online profiles, that I don't get that impression though, but we'll see. We'll see what it's like. So anyway, that's what I'll be doing next week, Wednesday. So I may not be able to do a live then. However, I'll try to do one sort of later in the day or something like that. We'll see what we can do. If not, anyway, we'll be here next Friday, and we'll be here on Friday for me, Thursday for America next week. So Tuesday, Wednesday next week is going to be that debate, and then Sunday for the new premiere for this week. So every Sunday we'll have a new premiere for my channel for a new episode, and that will be Monday morning for Australia and Sunday night for the US. And I might start, because I have sort of a lot of episodes backed up in the queue. I might start adding a second one during the week as well, so there's not so much delay in doing these episodes and getting them out. So in any case, thank you all very much. I really appreciate it. Hopefully I can see you all at the YouTube premiere of my new episode coming up this Sunday US, Monday morning in Australia. And if people are on, thank you for joining on Facebook and Twitter /X, as well as on YouTube. So we had a very good turnout here as well. The premiere for my episode will be on YouTube this Sunday in America, Monday morning in Australia. So if people can join me there on my YouTube channel, if people on X aren't on or Facebook are not on my YouTube channel, it's just Anthony Chaffee MD. Please do sign up over there so you can see all my content and new videos. And if people are on YouTube and don't follow me on X and Twitter, then or Instagram, then maybe hop over there. On Twitter /X, it's Anthony_Chaffee, and on Instagram, it's just Anthony Chaffee MD. And so I try to coordinate things through those different platforms to get everything out. And if people haven't seen my Lane Norton rebuttal, that is up now. That went up live yesterday, and so that's my full rebuttal to his absurd statements and claims, which were fictitious, false, and verifiably so. He said that he provided RCTs. There wasn't a single damn randomized control trial there. He just assumes people don't read the studies that he posts, and he's just been banking on that. And it's high time people called him out. It's not to say that he gets everything wrong, but he definitely got this wrong. And he's so arrogant about it, so aggressive about it. There's no business for that. I mean, if you're gonna be a dick about it, you should at least have the decency of being correct and not lying and saying you're giving randomized controlled trials when you're not. Maybe studies that actually have anything to do with the subject matter at hand. So anyway, if people want to see that, they can. And otherwise, I will see you for the premiere. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate it. Good seeing you all, and thank you for joining.